Hello, and this is Impact 2022. I am Nathaniel Watkins, this is our continued conversation where we talk about different topics, where we talk about topics that are current events, where we talk about topics that have to do with race, where we talk about topics that have to do with religion and social interaction. And as our continuing conversation, for those of you who have been here before, you would know that you can type your questions and your comments into the comment section. And as they pop up, we will address them. We will go just right into them. And so, just like any other week, we will go directly into our conversation. And so, this one is a two-part, just basically two issues we're going to go through. Current events. Um, one is very, very current, and one is a little um, still current. Well, the first one I'll go on is one that's the most recent topic, and that is the Supreme Court justice. And I'm probably not going to talk about what you think I'm going to talk about or where you think I'm going to go. I'm going to go a little place that is only for mature adults. And when I say mature adults, it's not because I'm going to say some bad language, it's because I need you to be uh, intellectually honest and educated here, or intellectually open. And it's a topic that we've talked about before. And I'll tell it like this. I was sitting back and I was looking at the proceedings that were going on with our the process of the Supreme Court nominee, Supreme Court Justice nominee. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm able to say her name. I will say Kenyatta Brown Jackson. I don't know if that's exactly how you say it, but I'll say Ms. Jackson is going through the process of being the nominee, and that's when the senators from both parties, or from both parties and the independent parties as well, question her about her, overall ability to be a Supreme Court justice, and since it's a lifetime appointment. And when it starts with the Supreme Court justice nominee coming into the room and giving an opening statement. And each nominee over the years has come into the room and given an opening statement talking about themselves and how they love this country and how they plan to be open and honest as a justice and why they are deserving of this high office. And when she did, she had her family there, two young daughters and her husband. And what you noticed was that her husband was a white gentleman. Nothing wrong with that at all. And let's be clear, and this is why this is an adult conversation. Love whoever you love, regardless of race, religion, whatever other demographic that you want to put on. And I have never had a problem with that. I don't think anybody should. But the concept that we talked about previously, if you've been around, is a concept that I don't know if I coined it or somebody else has coined it, but it's called the white pass. And it is the some type of characteristic that makes the broader population, and then in your assumption, the majority population of the white population, feel comfortable with a person of color. And so if you look at the vice president, our current vice president, her pass is her husband because he's a white man. If you look at our past president, not Trump, but the one before him, Barack Obama, his pass was his mother because she was white. And then you oftentimes have people in different professions, especially people who are out front. They have that pass that whether it be a spouse or whether it be a family member that makes them palatable to the greater population. Now, you can believe this to be true or you can believe it not to be true, but when you look at certain situations in certain areas, for example, one of the ones I like to bring up is sports reporters. There is plenty of black female sports reporters. The overwhelming majority of them have a spouse or a white spouse. We used to talk about this a lot in the 90s when we would talk about basketball players. If you wanted to be a basketball star, well, sports players in general, but more specifically for me in the 90s, it was basketball players. And if you wanted to be a star, you had to go out and get a white woman. And and again, let's focus in on what the actual content of this is. It's not about more so who you love and what relationship you got in, because you can do whatever you want to do. But why is there a coincidence? And we'll say the word coincidence, that all of the people who get these prominent offices, especially more recent, have a white past. And so as I look at Ms. Brown, and I am all behind her being the first woman of color, black woman, not woman of color, black woman to be on the Supreme Court justice. I am 100% behind it. I do wonder about the white past. And again, what message that may be sending our young black women. And what a message that may be sending young black men. And what message that may be sending the broader population. Because when you see the president, the former president of the United States, white mother, when you see the current vice president of the United States is married to a white man, and you see the next Supreme Court justice, the first black female Supreme Court justice, again, married to a white man, is that a coincidence? Or is there something going on there? And you know how the saying usually goes, one time, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, I'm not messing the whole thing up. But fool me once, shame. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. And three times makes a trend, or 3 times makes an occurrence. And you sit back and you say the 3 highest offices that black people have ever gotten in the United States government, the 3 highest positions. All of them had a pass. And you even look back at, Clarence Thomas. Well, I'll tell you, I feel a certain kind of way about it. Same situation. Clarence Thomas is a black Supreme Court justice married to a white woman. And so, I always sit back and I wonder, black mother, black father, black man, black woman, is black on black crime. Is that you can't have that when you have a higher office. You can't have that when you have somebody of prominence in these offices. What is the message that's being sent? Because for me, it's a clear one, that at this moment in time in our history, at this moment in time in the United States, that you can be black and you can succeed, but you can't be too black. You got to still have that pass. And I could be totally wrong, but I think it is worthy to have that discussion. I think it's worthy to have that analysis. Like, this cannot just keep happening and it just be a coincidence. There's no way. Why does it have to be that the vice president, the first female black vice president, just happens to have a husband who is white? And the first Supreme Court justice, black female Supreme Court justice, just happens to have a husband who is white. And the first African-American president just happens to have a mother who is white. Is there something of a comfort level that has to be there in order for us to succeed? And so that if you are a black person who has 2 black parents, if you are a black person who decided to get into a relationship with another black or brown person, you may not be able to succeed as much as you want. You may not have that pass. And so my thing here, and this is more or less just, again, it's my thing. If I'm wrong, then I need society to prove me wrong. If this whole explanation that I have here that I'm bringing up today is incorrect, then prove it. Then prove it. Then when Stacey Abrams runs for office, and if Stacey Abrams does not decide to marry a white man, or Stacey Abrams, whose parents are not white, if she can become If she can rise to a high level, then maybe you've proven me wrong. But if just like the previous, if the next one that comes across here, the next time a person of color gets a prominent office in government, you look back at their spouse or you look at their parents, and it has to be somebody white somewhere in the mix, it's not a coincidence for me anymore. As a matter of fact, as I look at it right now, it's still not a coincidence for me. And so, yes, I challenge the United States as a member of the United States, as as a person here in the United States, as a citizen, is that I challenge all of us to prove me wrong that there is not a white pass, especially when it comes to the highest offices in the land, when it comes to government and leadership. Prove to me that it's not a white pass, that you don't have to have some kind of thing that makes everybody feel comfortable with you. Prove to me that black on black is not a crime when we're selecting our leaders. And that's my first thing. A little heavy, little bit much there. But let's move on to the second one, which is, we got a comment. Let me jump to that really quickly. I feel you may have a point. Having a white partner may indicate that you are able to understand whites. Yeah. And I think that's the whole concept of the white pass. It's not as bad as it sounds. It sounds so nefarious, but again, it's a comfort level that you have to have. You know that if somebody walks in here and they're different from you, you look for a similarity. For example, if I met someone and him and I or her and I went to the same school, whether it be elementary school, middle school, college, high school, whatever, or we're from the same state, or whatever, there's a familiarity about it that makes me more comfortable with that individual. You look for familiarity. However, that same situation is what causes discrimination. And so if I have to be familiar with someone in order to accept them, then that means there's a whole group of people who don't have the same thing that I have that are not going to be familiar with me or that are not going to accept me unless I have a pass. And why should I have to go get a pass, a demographic pass, to be able to be in a leadership position or be in your presence? And so, yeah. You feel like you can understand, or you got an understanding of what we got going on, or you're really connected to us because you got that pass, and I don't think that's appropriate. I really don't. Another comment is like when whites want to let you know they have black friends. Yes, it's a similar situation. It's again the pass that you have to have. You have to have that comfort level and feel comforted. And so, yeah, I hope that I'm wrong. In my heart of hearts, I feel that I'm not. I hope that I'm wrong, and I hope that again, having that pass, the white pass, is not a thing, and it's just coincidences right now. But until we see something different, we can't say that it's different. It is what we see. And so, thanks for the comments there. That was really good. The second part really is just more. Let me paint it out for us, and then we'll see where it is. What was found out recently is that one of the places that everybody loves to eat, and I say everybody, but one of the places that everybody loves to eat, has some practices that aren't great. And the company is McDonald's. And so what was recently brought to light, and it's actually been known for years, is that McDonald's uses pork. And they use pork that comes from inhumane places. And they use pork that come in incubator cages. Now, let me explain what an incubator cage is. An incubator cage is a cage that an animal, a pig, will be born into. And for the entirety of that pig's life, about 4 years at the max, that pig is stuck in this cage. Doesn't get to move, doesn't get to go anywhere. The pig is impregnated. The pig has other little piglets. And then the pig eventually is slaughtered for the meat. So the pig's entire existence is just to be in a cage and produce meat. Now some people will be like, well, whatever, it's an animal. But that is probably one of the most inhumane type of situations that you can have of when you have animals. And then there's this big push nowadays just for the ethical treatment of animals. If you're going to eat an animal, don't have it caged up. Let it have a little bit of a life, and then it can be used for food. But to just have animal after animal after animal caged up, its whole entire existence, just so that it can be slaughtered, people look at it in a very negative way. And so one of the things that's been brought up is that there's been pressure put on by other people, investors, and businesses uh, in order to push and say, "Hey, look, we need to have a little bit more ethical treatment of these animals. You don't have to do it this way. McDonald's doesn't have to do it this way. They do it because it's a cheap way to do it. To go to get supplies from people who have animals like that, but it's unnecessary. It's completely unnecessary. Having the animals to be free range, or having just in just a more ethical situation of where they're able to have a little bit of a life before they are slaughtered to be eaten. And so the questions have been asked to them is, well, what are you going to do? And McDonald's has said over a 10-year period, they were going to eliminate 99% of these operations. And unfortunately, McDonald's has not. They have not quite reached that goal. And so the pressure has been put on. And so my question to everyone out here, and a question to myself is, as people who believe in God, as people of faith, what is our responsibility when it comes to situations like this? We always talk about, we definitely talk about the human toll, and from here we talk about social activities, and we talk about different things. What is the responsibility that we may have back to animals, and what may be going on? And so we have dominion over everything. And so we really want to look at, what is our responsibility? So should you be concerned about how McDonald's treats these animals? Is this something that should be concerned of from an ethical treatment standpoint? Is that something that we have responsibility to? Got a comment, so I'm going to go back to the comment. I am being referred to as whites. I find that a little bit offending. How can we move forward unless we stop referring to one another as the color of our skin? That's a good comment. So it depends. I think it really depends on how you look at that one, because some people do get referred to by the color of their skin, okay, and some people are not. For example, I know that myself, if I'm referred to as a Black person, as a Black man, that's the way I'm okay with and wanted to be referred to. However, I think that the good point is everyone has to respect everyone else's way that they want to be referred to. And so if that is offensive to get referred to as white, then we can use different language or different words to refer. So that's a great point. But there is a second part of stop referring to one another as the color of our skin and kind of move past that. For me, if we move past it, then you don't see who I truly am. And so, for example, and this may sound trivial, I'm a bald-headed man. And if you saw me and said, well, I don't see your hair, I just see you as just a man, I'd be like, well, nah, man, look at me, man, I'm bald-headed, man, I rock it well. And you're like, no, I don't see that. Well, then I don't think that you're seeing all of me. And I don't think that someone should be, this is just me, should be offended or by being seen in their whole entirety. So yes, I, as a Black male, see me as a Black male because that's who I am. It's not all of who I am and the only thing of who I am, but it's a part of me. And so I 100% respect that opinion, that if you don't want to be called a certain thing, then yes, we all can use different language. But referring back to the particular topic, I think it's an important issue to bring up, because you need to be able to see people and see their color in order to be able to see whether or not there is some kind of problem or discrimination that's occurring. If we all just sit back and we looked at these situations, the ones that I named with the Supreme Court justice, with the vice president, with the president. If we look past and we just said, hey, don't look at color, don't notice those things, then we may miss the fact that the white past that I'm talking about may be a true thing and may be a real thing. So if we don't acknowledge it and if we don't see it, then that past will go on and be a thing, but we just don't ever recognize it. And so there may be people who are fully qualified for things, people who are have the full ability, but may not be able to get in certain positions because we're not really recognizing the discrimination that may be happening because we're not really recognizing the particularities of their race. So if you don't see race, you may not necessarily be able to see the negative effects that are happening in certain races. And so, yeah, that's why I say white pass. It looks like it's a thing. For me, I believe it's a thing. But as a country, we need to be able to prove me wrong and make sure that it's not a thing. Because if we sat back and we said, well, the white pass isn't a thing, well, then why has these occurrences happened? 2 Supreme Court justices, vice president, and a president, and they're all in the same situation. Why do they have that commonality? So until somebody can explain that to me, it's just like, if I ignore it, then it's going to continue to happen. And you'll never see a black person with another black person being able to be elevated to a position of significant power. And so I hope that kind of answers that question right there. Hold on, that's another one. As a reverend, I would think you would see all as one. That's God's love. We are not to learn about God's love, or is it always a color issue? Good comment. But here's the thing. I will always say, see all of me. Everyone should be proud of who they are. Proud of not only, you should be proud of your color, your race, proud of your heritage, proud of your gender or your age or just whatever you have about you, be proud of it. And if I'm not able to talk about my race or someone else's race, then I'm not really being proud of or true to who I am, I feel like. And so, that's why this one is a conversation that you have to really be ready for. Because in our current climate, what we do is we're not allowed to really talk. We got to slide things under the table because people do get offended so easily and do want to cancel each other out so easily. Not saying that that's what's happening in this situation, because it's not. But we have to be able to sometimes just have the conversation and kind of take the offense off the table in order to see what's really there. And so, for example, in this again, back to this situation, in order to see if there is a problem, see that certain people see that there's a problem, you have to be able to acknowledge the differences that people have. And you're 100% accurate. God loves everyone, regardless of our race. And in the love that he showed us, he made us all different races. Let's see, another comment. Well, we're getting comments today. In the Bible, we have been called to have dominion over creation. The issue is, what is our definition of dominion? And that's going back to the McDonald's thing. Now we jump in topics. And so, yeah, in that light, what's our definition of dominion? Is dominion to just treat things however we want to treat them? So just to circle back for anybody who may have gotten lost on this, when we're talking about McDonald's, we're talking about the issue of how they are getting pork and the pigs are being treated in an extremely, as I consider, inhumane way by using these cages, pork cages, where they are in cages for the entirety of their life. It depends on what do you mean dominion. To me, dominion, when we're talking about dominion, you're not going to get dominion unless there's a responsibility behind it. You're not going to put somebody in charge unless you believe that person is really going to care about everything that is going on. And so when it looks like dominion to me, and when it looks like dominion of whether or not we should care about these situations, when I read what it says in the Bible, I look back and I say, all right, we have dominion over it. We need to take care of it. And that comes into a play with a lot of people when now they look at the earth like, hey, do we need to be polluting or doing this or doing that? Some people will say, it doesn't matter. And other people say, well, we have dominion. We have a responsibility of it. The same way you treat your house. So if your house is, you're not going to keep your house dirty and nasty. So why would you keep God's house or God's planet dirty and nasty? Here we go. Another comment. I'm sorry, but this is church. Everyone knows that it can be offensive these days. We will never step into a future with one foot in the past. Not when it is stated that whites can say they can relate to blacks if whites have black friends. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with the comment by the pastor. Okay. I'm pausing because I'm processing. This was a longer comment. I got you here. Okay. And so, yes, I get that comment. I do. That is a good debatable thing. And that's honestly, that's a real debate that people have. And I'm going to tell you which side that I lie on. So the debate side is, should we get past race or should we not? Should we have our foot in, like as you were saying, one foot in the past, or have your foot and your eyes towards the future? I will say this: I am on the side of no, we don't get past race. We bring race with us. I will always be the race that I am. Every person, you will always be the race that you are. You should not try to, in my belief, get past it or get around it or think that we're all monolithic or one race. I think our differences are what makes us special, and we should all love those differences. We can all get together, and we should all get together. And this is the church, and God loves everyone, and God loves us together. That's why we come together in the church. But I don't think that we should not look at who we are. Again, our differences, God made our differences, and our differences are what makes us who we are. It makes us different. Difference is what makes us great. It's like food, the spice of life. You put different things together. The second part of it is, let me bring the comment back up. The black friends. Now that one is also an issue of again feeling comfortable. That's part of the concept, I believe, of a little bit of the white past. And I'll use the same thing in reverse with me. I honestly can't sit back here and talk about that I have a lot of friends of a different race. But if someone sat back and said, "Do you have any white friends?" or if I was able to sit back and be like, "Yeah, I'm cool with white people because I got two white friends or this white friends," I'm showing my comfortableness with the opposite race. That's really not genuine or appropriate. And so that comment of saying, "Yeah, I got such and such a friends," or when you have a person that says, "Yeah, I got a couple of black friends," that's not a comment of endearment. I'm not really sure if I'm hitting that one, but because we're getting different comments coming in, so I'm gonna go to the next one. We're all unique and blessed with different gifts, and that's a good one too. We have gifts. When you're talking about our gifts and you're talking about our race and you're talking about our sex, our gender, all of these different things are part of what makes us who we are. And I think it's all great to be different and to appreciate those differences. And that's the one thing that I've always been on. People sometimes we want to slide across from race, or we want to not talk about gender, or we want to not talk about this. That too makes you who you are. And so you got to, for me, if a person just came to me and said, "Hey, you're just a man. That's all you are. You're not this or you're not that. You're just a man," then you're not seeing me. You don't know who I am. You don't know what I've experienced or been through, or that my family has been through, and my family's experiences. And I'll say this, and this is what got Whoopi in trouble, so I'm going to toe as lightly as I can. We would never say that to a Jewish person. We would never say, "Let's get past the fact that you're Jewish and let's just be, everybody be who we are." All of those things are who makes us who we are. All of that history is who we are. That makes us who we are, because what we experienced then is still what we experience now. And so your past is your present, and your present is your future. I hope that hits. Oh, we got a bunch of comments. Yes. Are we God's children? We must be as one. Love one another. Teach God is love. Absolutely. And I don't think that conflicts anything with also loving your race and seeing other people who they are and seeing their race. I believe that we are all God's children, and we all must be as one as Christians, but we are different types of Christians. I mean, it is even shown up in the different type of Christians that we are by having, Baptists and Episcopal and Methodists and all of these Catholics and all of these different things. We're all one, but at the same time, we're all different. And our differences are not, I don't think our differences are what drives us apart. And let me say that again. I don't think our differences are what drives us apart. It's just how we treat one another that drives us apart. So just because I can point out your differences and you can point out mine, as long as I treat you the way that you should be treated, then I think everything is all good. We are acting as one. And in order to know that you're treating others as one, you have to be able to see their differences. Because if I don't necessarily see, or if I don't pay attention to the fact that you are different, then I really don't know if I'm treating you as one. And that concept may seem a little weird. If I'm looking at a situation and it just so happens that I'm picking a team of people and I'm always picking men, like I'm always picking men. But it's not because I just want to pick men, it's because I'm not recognizing that there's women that want to be a part of the team as well. Well, then I'm not seeing it, and unintentionally I'm being discriminatory because I'm not recognizing who they are and what they are. And so I think that in order to be as one, you have to pay attention to other people's differences. Again, back to the point of what I'm making about this white pass that we were talking about and the situation that we were talking about. Most people are not focused on the fact of what's going on with that Kamala Harris is with a white man, that Miss Jackson is with a white man, that Clarence Thomas is with a white woman, and that Barack Obama had a white mother. And because you're not focused on that, you don't see what the young black girls and young black men think about, or you don't see how that affects them when they're looking into the camera and they see all of my leaders have to have this type of relationship. There's nothing wrong with that relationship, but it should not be a mandate that you have to have a mixed race relationship in order to be successful. And right now, that's what we're showing every time we just only show these type of people being able to get to a certain level. So it's a mandate that if I want to be president, vice president, Supreme Court justice, that this is the type of relationship that I have to have. And the reason that it's that mandate is because we're not paying attention and no one's talking about it. And so if that's how a young person gets to see, if that's all that they see, then that's what they think is the reality. Oh man, we got a couple of comments and we're running out of time, so I'm gonna try to hit them real quick. We have to respect both the differences and the sameness. Great comment. You're absolutely right. That's how it has to be. Respect what makes us different, and respect also what makes us the same. Yes, I really like that one. That's hitting right on it. Next comment. Reality, God created races. The proof of that is that there are races. We must learn how to embrace God's creation. To ignore who we are is to dismiss God's creation. Yeah, that's a little bit more. That's kind of similar to to the point that I was saying as well. I don't see people as a color. I see people for who they are, how they are. How would you describe a person to a colorblind person? That's a great point, because when you're describing somebody, race probably shouldn't be one of the first things. Maybe it shouldn't be one of the first things that you're saying, because if I was talking to a person who was blind, let's just say blind, period, and I asked you to describe me, and you were describing me, I wouldn't expect the first thing to be like, well, here goes Nathaniel. He's black. He's a guy, I wouldn't expect you to say that to be your first description of me. However, I would expect you to say that at some point in time. Not that it has to be in the first introduction, but I think it understands some of the differences of who I am. So that if you hear me have a certain trepidation when I'm talking about interactions with the police at certain times over the course of my life, you'll understand that I'm saying that not because I'm just anti-cop, or I'm saying that because I've had different experiences because of the color of my skin. So sometimes your descriptor does help talk about your journey. And so if somebody was Muslim and they wore a hijab, the covering, and I was talking to a person who was blind and I explained to them that this person is Muslim, that may help them understand their journey of why I would say, well, I've never seen what such and such hair looks like. Well, the reason I've never seen what their hair looks like is because I was explaining to you that their religion keeps them covered, and it just gives a different understanding and a perspective. So wonderful. I think it's wonderful that you don't see color, but at the same time, you have to still see it to be able to acknowledge who people are. Because if you don't see them, you don't see all of them. When a person is born, one of the first things you notice is color, then sex. That's true. It's true. One of the first things you notice. However, when we're born, almost all of us are born to a situation where we're almost all born palish. You don't necessarily know what color people are, and so that goes both ways. That's a good point. Color is one of the first things you see when you see somebody. It's the exact, absolutely first thing. But the reality of the matter is, we are the same, because when we come out, most people aren't going to be dark. You rarely can tell, and so that goes both ways, and it tells you that we are similar. As the comment was saying before, we should celebrate our differences and our similarities, and I think that's what it is. It's that balance of both. If we don't, recognize our similarities, sometimes we'll get into trouble. All right. Well, we're way past our time. I'm gonna have to wrap it up. I'm gonna make this the last comment, and then I'm gonna have to wrap it up. This has been great. Explain it to a small child who is blind. And I think that goes back to what we're saying. And I think there's just a little disagreement on what is important and necessary, because I do think when you explain to a small child who is blind, you want to explain who the person is, and you want to explain everything about them, and you don't necessarily need to explain race to a child. If you're talking about somebody who's blind. But again, it is important sometimes to explain the race, because it tells you about who they are. And again, if there's certain areas in the country that people who look like me are not as welcome, not so much now as it was before, but there's still areas in the country. And if you hear me, if it was a person that was going to hear me say, I don't feel comfortable there, you will know one of the reasons that I don't feel comfortable there may be by my race. And so understanding that lets you understand me a little bit more. I was talking to and last thing, and then I absolutely am wrapping up. I was talking to a young lady, and she's of Asian descent. And we were talking about, we were talking about going to a certain part of town at night. And I was like, yeah, this is a good part of town, blah, blah, blah. You should go over here, get something to eat. And she was saying, that sounds great, but that's not necessarily a place that I would want to go at night, because that's cool to go there at night, but that's not cool for an Asian person to go there at night. And what she was explaining to me is, she's not just who she is who she is, and an Asian person. And that is something that she constantly has to think about when she does what she does, or she goes where she goes. And so she was uncomfortable going to the certain part of town at night because she is an Asian woman. And so if you sat back and we didn't recognize her race, if we sat back and we don't recognize or say recognize her color or what she's saying, then what we're not recognizing is what she's gone through, and what we're not recognizing is her pain, her concerns, her journey. We're saying you should just do what you should just go ahead and do what you're doing, but she's telling you all of this is a part of me. I have concerns about going to this place because of who I am, and the race is a part of who I am. And I can't tell you not to feel a certain way because of who you are. And so, that's really what we're looking at when we're talking about recognizing one another's race, because there's history. There's, can I say the word baggage that comes with your race? Proud baggage that I carry that comes with my race. And I think everybody does that. And every race has things that you carry with you and carry with them. I love the conversation. I want to keep going, but I'm way over my time, and I'm going to have to cut it. But continue the conversation. I think this is a good and healthy conversation. And as mature adults, we are allowed to have conversations that sometimes can get a little sticky and get a little different. And that's, if there's one thing that we can leave behind to teach our children, or we can teach the younger generation, it is that you're allowed to have open conversation when you're not trying to be hateful or hurtful towards one another, but you just have some differences that you may be able to work out and progress. Every comment that I've heard or seen has been a good comment, whether I agree or disagree. And each comment, look at, read at, and think about it, because it doesn't mean my perspective is correct or your perspective is correct, but we need to listen to how other people feel about certain situations. I love that, and for me, one things that I will definitely take away is, as I've said this white pass and the word whites, and I know that that was the original trigger point for some of the things that was said here. I have to take an analysis and look at, is that the right language to be using, or is there another way that I can position what I'm saying? The concept of what I'm saying can be explained in a way that can be more palatable to everybody. And so that's what we should all do. Take assessment of our opinions and love the conversation. This has been great. This is Impact 2022. My name is Nathaniel. Thank you everyone who has commented. Thank you everyone who has been a part of it. Please join us again. We will be here on Tuesday, same time, same place.